So I want to talk to you about the Babylonian credit debt system. Now the video in front of you is from this channel here, and I'm not going to play the sound on it, but I'm just going to let you read the transcript as I talk. So you can either now hit the mute button on your computer and tune me out and just read the text, or you can wait until I'm done talking and then hit the mute button, replay the video, and read the text. Now I'm doing that so I'm not infringing on anybody else's work, but here's the title of the video, or that's the channel right there, and there's the title of the video right there. So that title kind of grabbed me, and I thought, you know, I did a whole series on the Babylonian credit debt system, but I'm not sure anybody really pays much attention to extensive work on YouTube. By that I mean they want short, snappy, quick videos that are well polished and very much brief and to the point, and they don't want anybody going on and on beyond maybe 3 to 5 minutes. So this video here is pointing out that there's a big crisis in our land right now. And you can see as they talk, it's kind of shaded here. And the crisis is that everybody is experiencing, first of all, higher prices, and then secondly, they're experiencing that they're coming up short in terms of paying for the same amount of goods and services, say a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Now, of course, the number one problem is inflation. And I'm not going to give you a statistic on inflation right now on December the 15th, 2024. That's when I'm making this video. But you can look them up and find out approximately what is the rate of inflation. And oftentimes you're deceived by those statistics that it's higher than what you're being told. But you will know this by going to the grocery store and paying for your grocery bills. You will probably also notice that in various services and various essentials for running a house have gone up, such as your water bill, your electric bill, your natural gas bill, and even assessments of homes and tax bills have gone up, and then new taxes have been added. Net result, people are coming up short and can't make ends meet because of the high rising costs of goods and services and the deficiency of the workforce to present to the workers raises that compensate for inflation. Now I know this because in my life as a pastor, inflation really got me, and my churches that I served never gave raises adequate to inflation. In fact, there were many times I didn't get raises at all, and hence I had to struggle every year of my 42 years of ministry. Now the struggle got less and less towards the time of approaching retirement, and that would be mostly because my family had grown up and my expenses were not as great as in previous years in raising a family. Well, what I'm trying to do is get you to look at my series on the Babylonian credit debt system. And that system has been instituted in the United States, whereby everyone is encouraged to live their life on credit. Now, I think maybe my internet service is shut off. I have to check it here. Well, it says it's on. I don't know why it's frozen up. Oh, guy's talking. And for some reason it's not translating it. So many people turn to their credit cards for an answer, but actually all they're doing is making their debt worse. And furthermore, they could be approaching bankruptcy. Incidentally, the very last church that I interviewed for and acquired the position, the individual in charge of that search committee said to me, "You would be surprised how many ministers have declared bankruptcy." I was not one of them, so I think that impressed the chairperson of the committee that I had never declared bankruptcy. Now my transcript is frozen for some reason, and I'm not sure exactly why. Oh, that's why, because we're in a commercial. Thank you for putting up with me, by the way. My videos are not the greatest in terms of editing. I don't have the fanciest equipment like many of the more modern, younger pastors, preachers. But one thing I do have, I have 42 years of experience. So basically what I want you to realize is this. I grew up in a day and age when my parents never had a credit card. And they lived their entire life under this rule. If we don't have it in the bank, in savings, or in checking, we don't buy it. Now, one exception would have been the purchase of a home. Another exception would be a purchase of a car, except I'd like to be honest with you, I think in my family, my father never bought a car unless he had the ability to pay for it immediately. So, consequently, my whole life, we rode in what the term was at that time, jalopies. We rode in used cars that broke down. But my parents were saved from going into major debt. My parents were able to raise a family. We didn't have much, but we did have a roof over our head. We did have clothing, and we did have food. And occasionally we had a very short, brief, little, not expensive vacation. What is happening today? The average individual wants to go out with a card and swipe it and deal with it later. Now that's the Babylonian credit debt system. Now the only way to really counteract that is you don't buy it unless you have the money to pay for it. Now that word of wisdom will not get through to modern generation because it loves to take cards and swipe them. It loves to get credit score. It loves to earn money on their credit card. Now, did you ever stop and think about this? Why is it that they will say you can earn $100 by using your credit card this week or this month or however that goes? It's because if nobody's swiping their cards, they don't make money because they charge such high rates of interest. Now, this is also tied into the sin of usury. U-S-U-R-Y. Usury. Nehemiah spoke out against it. In the book of Nehemiah, the Babylonians had kept them in captivity for 70 years. They returned back to Jerusalem, and they discovered the wall around Jerusalem was in a mess, and the temple was in a mess. And they needed workers. And so workers came. But the workers were using up all their money, and they were running short. They were getting broke, trying to rebuild the temple and rebuild the wall. And some Jewish bankers came along and said, "We will loan you the money, but you will pay us back at this high rate." And that infuriated God and infuriated Nehemiah. It's a sin. It's a sin to loan money and then charge people such high rate of interest to pay it back. So people are swiping their credit cards and getting in major debt. And this has hit the younger generation because they mention here about the credit loan system for higher education. And some youth go to a college or university and they come out with a debt higher than my folks ever had in buying a home. Or even buying a home in modern times. And they owe it upon graduation. Incidentally, this is one of the reasons why enrollment now in colleges and universities is on the decline. And also you're going to probably see lots of colleges and universities temporarily closing down or shutting down permanently. Now they know it. It's all based on credit. And now people are getting educated that this Babylonian credit debt system needs to go. So what can you do? Basically, one, you can look at my series on the Babylonian credit debt system on my channel. Go to the playlists, and you should find it there. If you don't want to go to the playlists, go to the search box on my channel, not the search box on YouTube channel, but my search box on my YouTube channel. And click on that and just type in credit debt system. Now you'll see I did an extensive work on it to try to show you that this is ruining lives. And I might add, it's ruining the nation because it's putting many people into poverty beyond their reach of getting out because the debts that they're acquiring are so enormous that they may never get out of them. And as long as people are in debt, then the ones who loan the money are making high profits by usury. And again, the Bible basically declares it sinful to do this. Now, what makes it extra sinful is the amount of interest that's charged on an individual that uses a credit card or buys something on credit. We could probably tolerate a system whereby the interest rate or return rate is very minimal, such as 1, 2, 3, or 4% at most. But some of these cards and some of these things that you are buying, or I am buying, the return rate of interest is astronomical. Now, the second thing you can do is look at your savings, look at your checking before you want to buy something. And then say, do I have the resources to make this purchase? If I don't have the resources, then deny the purchase. Remember what Jesus said, we're to deny ourselves, take up the cross, and follow Him. Now, Jesus wasn't necessarily talking about denying yourself in purchases, but He was talking to us about the whole concept of denial, of saying no, willpower, self-control. Say no to whatever that purchase is. If you look at your checking and you look at your savings and you don't see it, then don't buy it. Do without. Now this whole generations now, last couple generations, know nothing of this. Now, of course, my parents knew a lot about it because they came through the Great Depression. And coming out of the Great Depression, people learned to do without. And also people learned to make do with what they had. And people learned how to deny themselves. Are we headed for another Great Depression? Most likely it appears we are headed there. And most likely it's going to occur very soon. How soon, I'm not entirely sure, but you need to be prepared. And the way to be prepared is simply, don't make the purchases if you don't have it. Stay out of debt. Don't use a credit card. Pay for things with cash. And if you don't have the cash, you don't buy it. Now that goes against the grain of this whole concept. You've got to get a good credit score. I ran into one woman in a congregation I was serving. I say she's about age 50. And she prided herself. And she said, I teach my children to be sure to have a good credit score. Well, you know what? Maybe she should have taught them, if you don't have it in your wallet or in your purse or in your bank account, don't buy it. So as you can see, I did a whole series on the credit debt system from Babylon. And that's what the devil wants. The devil wants to reinstitute Babylon. And indeed, if you read the book of Revelation, you'll see that Babylon comes back just before the return of Christ. And what is part of Babylon? This credit debt system. And incidentally, the credit debt system is also related to the one world currency that's coming in the tripod of the one world economy, the one world religion, and the one world government that the devil wants to set up so that he can rule this earth forever and ever. Well, don't let him, Get started right now. Make up your mind. Thank you for watching this video. This concludes the video.